Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. 1, 2. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bloons. So we are now playing subsections of hard mode, and these will rattle you. So first off, we've got magic only. So I guess super monkeys count as magic, because they got lasers and knockback abilities and stuff. Yeah, we got wizards, alchemists, druids, and ninjas. Did I say wizards? But yeah, that's basically it. And we can choose a hero. So our selection is pretty limited. Sorry, it's fall time again. Allergies are going crazy. So I apologize for the noises. So, how are all of you guys doing today? You guys doing good? Hope you guys are happy. Hope you guys are healthy. And I hope everyone's just doing good in general.
Love the smell of bubble wrap in the morning. Hooah!
Now, most magic monkeys have some element of fire, and the purple balloons are immune to fire, and I believe they're resistant to magic, so magic can't pop them, but it takes more hits. So that's why I got Striker Jones here, because according to the game, it doesn't count as heat, it just counts as a big explosion, which in the game's code is different. Logically, it makes no sense, but Bloons logic, I'm not gonna argue. So this is a bit of a tricky map. There's not too many places to get towers down. So I'm trying to put them near the bends, so they can cover as much range as possible. I like the color design. We got black, white, awesome, red, and like purplish. It's like a Halloween party. Well, I guess you wouldn't really see too much red at a Halloween. Actually, no, I take that back. You would see a lot of red at a Halloween party. You'd see blood. Oh no, we got hearts. The hearts of death. Well, actually, I've mentioned this before, hearts aren't that big of a threat, unless you're really not prepared. Because if you've got towers firing on all cylinders, like, they can't really regrow fast enough to live. I like for these early rounds, like round 20 to round 50, like there's still a lot of balloons, but it's not really hard yet, so your monkeys just tear through it, and it just sounds like bubble wrap, like a professional bubble wrapper. Like that. Shred that rubber. Gonna burn some dust here. Eat my rubber. Wait, no. Burn dust. Eat rubber. Whatever. So is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie? Where does it lean more towards? I think it leans slightly towards Christmas, but it's mostly still in the middle for me. So whenever we bust out our Christmas movies, it's one of the first things we watch. Alright, so Super Monkey should take care of all the less threatening balloons, so we can focus on the problem children.
Target that ammo, baby! Got it on the first try! They're getting through.
Ooh, we had some casualties there.
Sweet.
Alright, so I have Burrito Horn. I forget which manager it was. I can't remember. But he or she got mad and grabbed a burrito off the assembly line and just launched it at the wall and exploded everywhere. And then, I guess they forgot that they did that because they were in such a state of rage. They weren't aware. It's kind of like being drunk, where they forget what happened. So they were like, hey, who threw that burrito at the wall? They were asking everybody, including me, like, hey, does anyone know how all that beef got on the wall? And we're like, we don't know. But it was them. Now, this happened back when Miss Frowny Pants was still employed. This was near the end of her time. And we have no customers, it's a slow day, so we're just cleaning. Well, me and a couple other people are cleaning, most people are on their phone. So we're just having a slow night, and Miss Frowny Pants, she starts screaming. She's like, Mr. Cheez-It, call the cops! Call the cops! There's a man! And we all run over to, like, see what's happening. And there's a car at the front of the building. The car's running, it's got its headlights on.
Target that MOAD.
There's a girl inside the car, just doing nothing. But there's a man outside the car, just taking a piss in our parking lot. Now, I can't remember if our lobby was locked or not. We're supposed to keep the lobby open until we close. But sometimes if we get too overwhelmed, if we're short-staffed, or sometimes they do it just because, they'll just lock the lobby. I don't remember if it was locked or not. It probably was. But even if it was, we've got some perfectly good bushes that you could use. And as I mentioned in the previous video, in our little plaza, we're the latest thing open, so nothing else was open. So we could have just walked far away from our door, found a bush, no one would have seen, no one would have cared. But no, now thankfully, he was facing away from us, so we didn't really see anything. But he was literally a foot away from the door, just letting the stream out.
Target that BFB.
So, Miss Frowny Pants is freaking out like, Mr. Cheez-It, call the cops! And Mr. Cheez-It just slowly waltzes over there. And he literally did not care. He's like, alright, look. If you want to serve him, serve him. If you don't want to, don't. I don't care. And he just walks back to the office. So we chose not to serve him. Now, I'm guessing the woman in the car must have been his girlfriend or something, but I really don't know. And I lost. Crud. Alright, let's try again. And on top of that, he ordered about $75 worth of food. So they were like, yeah, you peed in our parking lot? No, you're done, get out. And thankfully, we never saw that man since. Now this next story, this is one where I messed up. I really goofed up. So as you know, Burrito Horn, we have Mexican pizzas. One of the most popular items on the menu. You know what's weird? When they got rid of the Mexican pizzas, everyone was like, bring it back, and they brought it back. And for a while, that's most of what we sold. But now it just sells about as often as anything else.
Prepare for liberation.
So anyway,
Nice.
we have pizza sauce for it that we heat up. And they come in these little bags, well, as you know, they come in big packages, and you transfer them to little baggies, and you heat up one little baggie at a time, because you don't need a whole lot of sauce for one pizza. Now, I had done this a couple times, but I went about a year without dropping pizza sauce. It was just a really weird coincidence. And Mr. Cheez-It was like, hey, Mac, can you drop some pizza sauce? I'm like, yeah, I got you. So I go into the dry storage, which is not where you're supposed to go. You're supposed to go in the walk-in, where we keep the little bags. And I see a big bag of pizza sauce. I'm like, huh, okay. So I take this big bag of pizza sauce, which, by the way, is supposed to be like a couple days supply. And I put it in the thermalizer. And about 30 minutes later, it's done. Mr. Cheese walks over there.
Yes.
Goes, what the fuck? Now, we have about 8 hours maximum before this goes bad. Now, it's not the most annoying thing to make, but a Mexican pizza is pretty, I don't want to say tedious, but it's one of the more difficult things you can assemble on the menu. So usually, they're like, oh, no, not a Mexican pizza. But on this day, it was Freaky Friday. Mr. Cheez-It was like, hey, does anybody want a free Mexican pizza? Does anyone want to order Mexican pizza?
Nice.
Like, he was trying his damnedest to get rid of the sauce. And I felt bad, because, you know, I caused the problem. But for, like, the rest of that day, he even put something in the work group chat, like, hey, does anybody want to come buy a Mexican pizza? Please, please. And then at the end of the day, thankfully, he was chill about it. He's like, alright, Matt, it was kind of funny. Never do that shit again. And to this day, I have not. Now I just drop little bags. And the funny thing is, about 4 months after that, Meximel did the exact same thing. A manager did what I did. And once again, a different manager on duty this time. I think it was Mimosa.
All right.
She's like, please order Mexican pizza. Please do it. So, one thing with Meximel is she would come in late a lot of the time, and sometimes she wouldn't even show up at all. She would show up at least 30 minutes late, and then a couple times she straight up no-call, no-showed. And she did get written up for it, but it didn't really stop her. She kept doing it. And one time she no-call, no-showed, and we were very, very busy. So it's me, Big J, and Herbmaster. And Herbmaster and Big J were arguing at each other, but they weren't really mad at each other. They were just frustrated about the situation. I think it was a weekend. We were slammed. It was not good. And it's kind of bogus, but one rule we have, if you get to the window and you want to change your order, if you want to order something else, you have to pull back around the building.
They're getting through.
Because we make the food to order. So if there's people behind you, the cooks have already started making their food. And it kind of sucks to tell them that, but that's just the rules. You know, I tell them, you know, I'm sorry, you gotta pull back around if you want to add on 2 tacos or something. And
they're getting through.
This was before I knew that. Some guy wanted to add like 2 gorditas or something. So I recalled the order, I added the gorditas, and that just set both of them off. And I had the window open because I was handing the guy his change. And Herbmaster was saying something to Big J, but the guy at the window thought he was talking about him. And the guy motions for me to come to the window, and he points at Herbmaster, and he goes, if he ever talks to me like that again, I knock his fucking teeth out. And then he wanted our names, which we weren't going to give that to him. And then he got mad and left. And then the following day, we got busy again, but this time Meximel was there with us. So it was 4 people instead of 3. And once again, Big J and Herbmaster were kind of heated. I guess they were just more frustrated than anything. They weren't really mad at anybody. But they were freaking out Meximel. Actually, I think Mimosa might have been there as well. I'm not exactly sure who was there. But anyway, it just gets busier and busier and busier for 2 hours straight. It is just non-stop car after car after car. You take one order, beep, because it makes a beep in the headset when you do the drive-thru. Just beep, beep, beep. Like, the line had to have been wrapped around the building. And then it got to a point where there actually was a few minutes between orders because the cars physically couldn't pull forward enough. Oh, and don't forget some nice DoorDash orders mixed in there, too. You know, the 3 AM drunk guy needs 2 party packs. At some point, either Big J or Herbmaster, I forget who did it, threw a spatula across the restaurant. And Meximel just gave up. She's like, alright guys, I got too many emotions right now. I'll be back in like a week. And she turns around, clocks out, and just walks out. And we took a good 30 seconds to process what just happened. It's like, okay, that happened. Let's just keep going. And it was a bad night. The drive, we have like a stopwatch for the drive-thru. We're supposed to keep the average time at below a certain level. But we blew it that day. That thing was probably an average of 5 minutes per car. Which, when you're short-staffed and you got that many people, I mean, we did the best we could do. And she was not kidding. For the rest of that week, for 7 days, no Meximel, she did not show up. But then, when she returned, she turned over a new leaf, she apologized to everybody, said she had some stuff going on. And honestly, as crappy as a thing that was to do, we all have our lowest moments, like we all have parts of our life where, you know, nothing's going right, you just want to give up. Like, we've all been there. So even though it was crappy what she did, me and a lot of other people, we've forgiven her for it. And she really seemed genuine with her apology. She seemed like she regretted what she did.
Prepare for liberation.
And honestly, from that point forward, she was rarely ever late again.
Nice.
So it was like a nice little character arc.
Awesome.
Now, this next employee is something special. We're going to call this employee Q. Fun fact, that is his actual middle initial. I'm not going to say the rest of his name, but he would go by Q. So, that would be his name. So, Q had prior Taco Bell experience, and he had quite a bit of it, like, not at our store specifically, but I think close to a decade. And he was a really good cook. He knew what he was doing. But, okay, I don't know the correct terminology. I don't want to offend anybody. I think he might have been a redneck, but I don't know for sure. I'm not going to make any assumptions. However, he was a good employee. He was very knowledgeable. He knew what he was doing. But he had a very bad case of superiority complex. Q was always in the right, he could never be wrong, and if something happened, it was never his fault.
They're getting through.
The first thing he did was, when you're working the assembly line, if you're lucky enough to be fully staffed, there's 3 people: the starter, the finisher, and the expediter. If you start, you'll grill the tortillas, and you put the hot ingredients on the meat. And then you pass to the finisher, they put the cold ingredients on, like lettuce, tomato, and cheese. And they wrap up the tortillas. Then the expediter wraps it in the paper, puts it in the bag. And each bag gets like a sticker. It's kind of like a receipt, but it prints out a little sticker to put on the bag. And then for DoorDash orders, we have those anti-tamper stickers, so you put those stickers on to seal the bag. And someone asked him to put a sticker on the bag because he was expediting. He goes, "I ain't putting no goddamn sticker on no goddamn bag." And we were like, "Oh, okay, buddy, chill." He was an odd fellow, but then again, so am I, so we let it slide. And for the next few months, nothing really happened. I mean, he was a little loud and insubordinate sometimes, but other than that, we didn't really have any major problems. Until this one day.
Hooah!
So one day, Q, he misread the schedule, and he was supposed to come in at 5, but he thought he came in at 7. And the reason he was mad about this is because he wouldn't get to play Pokemon Go. That was why he was mad. So, he starts his shift already not in the best mood. And I didn't see this happen, but I believe that it happened because unfortunately it does fit with his character, it fits with how he acts. So, he was talking to Mimosa, and we, like I said, we keep a schedule on the wall so you can refer to it. And Mimosa was trying to show him the schedule, and he frickin' grabs her wrist and starts moving her hand around the paper. Like, yeah, see, look, it says it right there. Which, obviously, you can't be doing that in a workplace or just in general. You can't be putting your hands on people. So he did that. That was a huge red flag. And then it all went to manure. So, like I said, he misread the schedule, mad about his Pokemon Go,
Target that MOAB!
and he was on the assembly line, and Herbmaster was with him. And Herbmaster asked Q a very simple question. Do we have enough refried beans to make it through the day, or do we need to make more beans? And Q just giving him the silent treatment. And he thought, you know, oh, maybe he just didn't hear me. So he asks Q again, like, hey, do we need more beans? And this time, Q makes direct eye contact with Herbmaster and intentionally doesn't say anything. And then Herbmaster, he goes, okay, dickhead. And that set Q off. He goes, that's it! You just lost your job. You're a manager. You just called your employee a dickhead. That's it. You're done. You're gonna be fired. And he just starts screaming, getting in Herbmaster's face. Now, the thing about good old Herbmaster, he does not take crap from people. And he's got a very short fuse, so now they're both in each other's faces, practically kissing each other. And they're both screaming. And I look over, and Mimosa is like trapped in the office. Because the way our kitchen is set up, we have the office in the back, and then it splits off. There's a dual assembly line, and then it like converts back to the front counter. And the way they're positioned, the way they're arguing, she can't really get past them. And she looks like she's on the verge of a panic attack. So, that's not good. And at some point, Q says, you know, we can take this outside if you want. So, makes a threat to the other guy. And you know, he's screaming like, hey, you don't threaten me like that. You get out of my store, you're done.
Target that BFB!
Now, I'm just sitting there quiet because I think a fight's gonna break out. So I'm just not saying anything. I'm not gonna add fuel to this fire. And at this point, everybody, the employees, the manager, the AGM, we're all just telling him to just get out. Because Q is refusing to leave. He's choosing to keep himself there. Q is the one that is holding himself in this situation when he could just leave.
Target that MOAB!
And he just continues to scream and keeps saying like, oh, you know, let's take this outside, buddy. Now here's the deal. Should he have called Q a dickhead? No.
Target that BFB!
But you getting called a bad name does not justify you doing this. And also, he claimed that he cursed him out. Herbmaster's Italian, so if you want to see cursed out, he'll show you cursed out. Again, shouldn't have called him that. But like, if someone calls me the R word, I'm not just gonna start screaming and threatening to fight them. And finally, he leaves. Thankfully, there was no fight.
Awesome!
And Mimosa was like screaming at the top of her lungs
Target
for
that
him to get
MOA.
out. And so were a lot of people.
Great work.
Like, everybody was just yelling at this dude to leave.
Target that
And
BFD.
Mimosa's in tears, her face is all red, like, again, looking like she's having a panic attack, and I just felt really bad. So about 5 minutes go by, and we just take a second to take a breather, like, what the actual hell was that? And here's kind of the funny part. Like, 15 minutes after Q left, Herbmaster gives me a quesadilla, and he goes, Matt, I'm really sorry you had to witness that. I made you a special quesadilla, I grilled it a certain way, you're gonna like this. And it was a very good quesadilla. So I almost witnessed a fight, and I got a free, specially made quesadilla. Now later that day, I did check in on Mimosa just to see if she was feeling better, and thankfully she was. It just really sucked that she had to be a part of that. And then, we did some digging about Q. It turns out he's from Texas, and he has a warrant for domestic abuse.
Defend that exit.
Now, Mr. Cheez-It told us when they did the interview, he didn't see any red flags, but then he just showed his true colors. Well, unfortunately, the Magic did not win. The Balloons won. The Balloons got through, and there were too many of them, and they offset the market for rubber and helium so bad, it crashed the stock market, and now we got no food. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And everybody, just do me a little favor. Have a great day.